Hi there, I'm Catherine from Sunnyside Journals. I have a flip through today of a junk journal I recently finished, made from an 118-year-old book called The Story of the Birds. And it's a sweet little book that was all about everything you can imagine about birds. It was a very, very charming book. I get the impression it was meant for school-age children that were ready for chapter reading. And as you can see here on the spine, it must have been out of their school library. The numbers are still handwritten on the spine, which I was able to save. It took a lot of TLC. This spine was very, very sad, as was most of the book. But I have restored it, and it's lovely now. I'm so happy with how this book turned out. I really, really had a fun time making it. Now, before we get into it, I want to show you the various books that I pulled from to make this book. I pulled pages from Birds of North America and also from Birds. I also, of course, pulled pages from The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. I pulled a library pocket out of this book, which I believe is 1930s. Hold on. 1933. So I pulled the library pocket out of that. I did some fussy cutting out of my little golden book about God. And a little bit other fussy cutting out of this little golden book collection on Eloise Wilkin. The end papers were created from this package of gift wrap from 1895 Art Nouveau patterns. I also pulled some illustrations that I fussy cut from this, the Big Golden Book of Backyard Birds. In addition, I used this book, Canadian Songbirds and Their Ways, for some fussy cuts. And of course, in addition to plain tea-dyed paper, ledger paper, and other kinds of tea-dyed papers, I tea-dyed some pages out of a gardener's journal and included those in with the plain writing pages. All right, let's take a look and see what I did with all those books. There are a few other things that there are word snippets from Little House on the Prairie, and there are, of course, some fussy cuts that have come from books that now I don't even know what they were anymore because I fussy cut them so long ago. I don't have the cover anymore. I just have the beautiful little illustrations that I lovingly cut out, usually around the campfire. So as you can see from this little book, it's 5 inches wide, 7 1/4 inches long, and it's 1 1/8 inches thick. As I mentioned, it's a hidden hollowback spine, which makes for nice writing because it'll lay flat when you open it. I've put lace at the top and at the bottom here, and as well, I've left the fuzzy little trimmings from the cheesecloth that I used to fortify the spine. I've put new metal corners on all 4 corners. These are new. I've never found metal corners at any of my thrift sources. But other than the metal corners, the glue and the thread to sew together, everything else has come from repurposed sources. And I don't use scrapbook paper that I've purchased brand new, and I don't use digital prints in my journals. All of these papers have actually been repurposed from something else. There is one sheet of scrapbook paper that I cut up to make tabs, but even that scrapbook paper, that sheet, I found at a thrift store. So in case anyone's saying, wait a minute, Catherine, I recognize that scrapbook paper. Yes, it is in here, but I got it at a thrift store. I did not get it at a big craft store. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just my own personal challenge for making a repurposed junk journal truly made from, well, I don't think it's junk, but that was the original intent of journals, junk journals, that they would come from whatever you had handy around. So when we open it up here, you'll see right off the bat, here is the Art Deco end papers, and they've got squirrels on them, which I thought was charming. Here's a little tuck spot that I made from a cotton doily, and I stamped it with a little finch. And in it, you can move the journaling cards around to wherever you want, or even just take them all out if they're not for you. But I made a journaling card from the chapter 1 page of the book, and I also made a journaling card from one of the illustrations out of the book, a European house swallow, so you can journal on the back of that. And this is a word snippet from Little House on the Prairie. This is a page from Edith Holden's book, and I've put a little bulb pin and a little bead down at the bottom, and I've created a journaling spot here using tea-dyed tracing paper. So you can still see the original printing on the page, but now you can journal on it, and I did a little stamping. This is the original first page from the book. So you can see here that it was published in 1902. And I thought it was just such a pretty front page. I added a cluster up here made from a file folder tab, and it's got some antique hand crocheted lace and some, I say hand crocheted. I'm not sure if it's hand crocheted. I know it's old. Whether that's a machine, that's crocheted, but whether it's, no, it must be hand crocheted. You know what? I'm not that much of an expert. I only know that I buy it from old sources. It has a genuine postage stamp here with a beautiful little bird, and it's from Australia. And there's some stitching here from my sewing machine. And you'll see throughout, I've left the threads long. I've knotted them off. But if you don't enjoy the threads, you can trim them. Here's a little fussy cut of a little fellow. The original book was published, you can see here, in 1896, but this version is from 1902. I made some ruffles from some old material that I had hanging around, and I think that just looks charming. There's lots and lots of pages that I've left blank for you, so that you can, if you're a writer, you can write. If you're a gluer, you can glue. Hold on, I see little leftovers in there from my work. There we go. Page from the bird book of wrens. I love wrens. They just got the cutest little back end on them. Here's the page where I used fussy cuts from the little golden book about God. And then I also decoupaged a bumblebee that was from a napkin. This is old lace as well that I have sewn onto the edge. Here's a tea-dyed paper from the garden journal. More birdies. I've created a journaling spot on the back of that sheet. It had printing about the birds on it. So I put some tea-dyed tissue on it. And then there's a mother bunny with her little baby bunnies here. So I guess she's a rabbit and they're the bunnies. Pardon me. More tea-dyed paper that I've done from repurposed sources. I guess I should have dusted my book ahead of time. At least you can tell it's handmade. Here's a journaling card that I created from an old bingo card. And that's got paper on it from the Gardener's Journal. Here's a rusty paper clip. And this is from Edith Holden. I reinforced this old fold because I had to create a new fold for it. The Edith Holden's book is wider than this book. And I just reinforced that with, again, some of that really cool old thin fabric. It was perfect for there. Here's a interesting card for journaling on from the Ontario Nests Records Scheme for the Royal Ontario Museum and Canadian Wildlife Services. So in case you're a birder, you might find that interesting. Found those at one of my sources. There's a little tab up here with a cluster of fabric and laces and a button that has been hand sewn. Here's a large journaling tag that I've made from the page of the book that was the list of illustrations. And then I put one of those illustrations right there. I thought that turned out pretty. And I added a bit of the fabric up here as a little detail. More birds from the bird page. More journaling space using tea-dyed tracing paper. Here's half of a window envelope. And I've put a little tag in here that I made from an old thank you card. Somebody's thank you card. So I just tucked that in there. Again, you can put whatever you like in there. Ledger paper that was tea-dyed. More paper for more space for journaling. And this is from a reprint of a Sears Roebuck catalog. And some fussy cut wildflowers. Sears Roebuck did this. This is not my fault. It is upside down, the other side. I think that's charming. Some more tea-dyed paper and a little decoupage bumblebee from that napkin that I have of bumblebees. It's a really cute, and you can see there's plenty of bumblebees to go around. This is from a little booklet I have of Edith Holden postcards. And when I tried to pull it out of the booklet, the top part tore. So I turned it into a journaling card. So it originally was an Edith Holden postcard. And I put some lace on it and an eyelet and then a little stamping down in the corner with some tea-dyed ledger paper. And I thought it actually turned out better than what it looked like when it was just a plain old postcard. Let me move that over so that I can turn this page easily. There we go. More journaling space and more lace sewn on. Ledger paper. Here's the other side of the window envelope. This stamp is from that sticker book I found with stamps from the 1940s. So it is 70, 40s, 60, 20, 80 years old. Oh my. I'm not good at math. If that's wrong, please correct me. And just a little card with some children patting a fawn on one side and a little child looking into a pond. I thought that was pretty. It's not all birds in here. I did try to include, as you can see, butterflies and bees and little creatures like rabbits. More journaling space on the back of that book page. This is a flip up from an Edith Holden page, and I made more journaling space using tea-dyed tissue paper and a little stamping of a nest right here that's hidden behind, so you don't see it until you open it. Here's another tab, like the one before, made from little snippets of lace and fabric and hand-sewn a little button onto it. I like these buttons, they're square. And some brads, some green brads up there for just a little extra detail. This is a flip out, but down here is also a flip up, so you can journal right here. And then it's also a tuck spot. And I put a little squirrel down there. Here's a fussy cut bird from one of the books that I chose. Here's a little journaling card made from player piano paper that you can write on with some lace and a little bunny. This is a rusty paper clip that I've added some more fabric that you'll see throughout. I've used little snippets of this fabric throughout this book. You can see there's lots of different laces and lots of different fabrics in this book here and there. I created another journaling card from one of the pages of the book. This is one of the original opening pages. And I fussy cut a yellow warbler down there. And then I added a word snippet from Little House on the Prairie. And I used up the rest of the little tuck spot here. I put some of it here just because it looked pretty. And you're allowed to do that when you make junk journals. A little humbug snail. I'm not sure what the real name for these snails is, but my children always called them humbug snails because they look like humbug candies. and tea-dyed paper doily down there. More Edith Holden paper, another bumblebee. I just tucked in some journaling pieces into this little tuck spot that's made from more Edith Holden paper with stitching down here. More Edith Holden. Journaling space, lots of journaling space. Lots of journaling space. There's a flip out. This is chapter 32 from the book. This is the heading, and it says Acquaintance with the Bird. Down here, I have put a bulb pin with a little bluebird charm. Let me see if you can see that. I hope that's clear. That little thread is in the way, of course. This little guy is so cute. I found him, I found a whole set of wine glass charms with little birds on them. So he just, he had to go in. You can't have a bird book without a little bird charm on it if you've got it. More lace here. Little tuck spot made out of a Rolodex card with a nest put onto it, fussy cut. And then I made another journaling card from one of the original illustrations from the book. The tab has a word snippet from Little House on the Prairie. And then this is a fussy cut from another book I have. And now I don't have the cover for it anymore, but it's the cutest little book about these fairies that live in the woods. And they wear these little hats so that if they need to hide from danger, they crouch down and they look like little mushrooms when they're in the woods. And you can see how tiny they are. The child is sitting beside a frog. The illustrations are just beautiful. Another lace and button tab up here. So there's 3 total. Here, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw me post this the other day. It's a journaling card. I made a specimen card with butterfly fussy cuts, and I used chapter 28 from the book, from the actual book. Fussy cut bird's nest, and there's some cheesecloth behind it. I thought that was appropriate because birds will often use all kinds of things they find to make a nest. This is quilting graph paper. Some music, and then I fussy cut a bird there, and I used the chapter heading from chapter 13, The Meaning of Music Among Birds. So I put that up there. And then you can decide however way you want to use this page. Here's the fussy cut that I was looking forward to using of all the birds on a wire. And I used the fussy cut one fine spring morning. And I thought they looked very fine, so that was appropriate. This is also from the Gardener's Journal. It's been tea-dyed. The other side of that music paper, and I just put a little snippet of some wildflowers there. And then on this side, I made a tuck spot of a little, I believe this is a field mouse from one of the little animal books that I fussy cut from. Here's just a little bird, an old bridge tally card. I liked it. Another journaling card made from an illustration out of the original book. And then again, this is a flip-up tuck spot, and I decided to hide a little snail underneath there. So he's hiding because snails tend to hide. And then as we come to the end, there's another ruffle here that I made. There's a little tuck spot here made from a tea bag. So inside it, I put 2 tea cards, one with a, what's this? A cliff swallow. And then this one, I believe, is an eastern gray squirrel. Yes, an eastern gray squirrel. So I put those there. Oh, in you go. There we go. And I used a word snippet, Into the Forest. Here is the library pocket I was telling you about from the 1933 book, Traveling with the Birds. And you can see that it belonged to the Virgil Public School originally, and Virgil is down in the Niagara wine country area of Ontario, Canada. I just tucked an index card in there because it's not a Sunnyside journal without an index card. You can do whatever you like with that. And then, of course, I always include one of my photo strip bookmarks with my mom and my Nana on there. So I just tucked that in the back. This, in order to remove this pocket from the book, there was a lot of damage done to the back of the pocket, and there was still a lot of sticky glue. So I wasn't able to make an additional tuck spot back there. So it is completely affixed to the end papers. And again, here you can see that I've made the lace go right through the book. Even the fabric back in here is from a thrifted source. And again, you'll see here the metal corners that are on the ends. Those are new. Just a pretty book. My goodness, I had fun making this book. I haven't done a really fluffy, lacy journal in quite a while, and I enjoyed doing this. So I hope you enjoyed looking through this. This book, The Story of the Birds, will be available in my Etsy shop. Most likely, if you're seeing this video, it's available now. At least I'll try my best. You never know with how long YouTube takes to upload books. So I hope you'll go over and take a look at it. I'll have the link listed down below. Thank you again for looking through the little journal I made. I appreciate your time. Take care and have a great day. Bye.